Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, question mark. My name is Alan Converse, and I am here filling in for the very great Jess Jarva, who is not present. She is actually in the Commonwealth, I believe it is, of Pennsylvania, laying waste to the entertainment scene and, blinding them with science. And this is Papa Can You Wink, of course, her program. And I'm sorry if you tuned in expectations of seeing her. Gosh darn it, I just can't, as the mob boss said, no can a match. What can I do? But I am here, I am filling in, just as Zero Mustel occasionally filled in for Johnny. Yes, he did. Look it up. This actually happened. And like Zero, I'm wearing a cardboard belt, but I'm going to do my best. We have an interesting program tonight? I don't know. We have a program tonight. And I'm going to be later on introducing a couple people whom I know. One is Austin Rutledge, who is the very familiar host of Star Drive Nighthawks, in reference to the very great Hopper painting. And I hope also we'll get an appearance from Heavy D, a pretty well-known local comic, who's also gotten some airtime here recently. Talented young guy. What are my credentials after all? Who the hell am I? And what are you doing at 7:30 on a Thursday night? It's past hump day. We're sliding downhill towards the weekend. What are you doing staring at the television? Good God. You should be getting ready for the weekend. Laying out your disco clothes. Your hair mousse and all that. So I do have a mic here. There is a mic. There's a mic. Of course there's a mic. And there's a path also. We are in Boston after all, are we not? It's the world capital of Blarney. I'm sorry. Well, there is a mic there. But there are some things I would like to talk about before our guests appear. One of them is writing. I'd like to talk a little bit about writing. There you are, staring at the television, right? Rotting your brain. Well, it's not quite as bad as staring at your phone, I guess. Right, I know, you're just checking your messages, especially the ones with large-breasted women in them. All right. Okay, sorry. Somebody was getting a little ahead of themselves there. But I would like to talk a little bit about some writing. Why? Because you're watching television. You're not reading anything. And when you're not watching this, you're watching your phone. Right? Read something, for goodness sake. It's one of the original arts, along with music, which will come later. It's one of the original arts, along with music, along with the visual arts, along with painting, sculpture, and of course comedy and drama, right? But writing is one of the original arts, and in fact it's the source of a lot of those things, right? There are comics who can spritz, as they used to say, who can take it from their minds, who can take it from their gut and just go, right? Who can just go on. Mel Brooks was one of these. Lenny Bruce, by all accounts, was another. Groucho, his brother Zeppo, said Groucho didn't need written material. He had a mind like that. I'm quite serious, all right? Wait. Everything has a structure, even something like this, or it should. So, in any case, let's talk about some writers. Why not? They don't get talked about enough. You know, I know this is like the hipster hour and a half. It's the equivalent, right, of, you know, what was it back in the 70s? You know, Carol Burnett, Mary Tyler Moore, Newhart in a row, 90 minutes of solid comedy. We've had a good deal of comedy on here already, and I hope we'll have more. Well, let's talk a little bit about writers. I am doing some writing myself. I am doing some writing of the noir type. You know what that is? That is 1950s, 1940s style stuff. That is detectives, femme fatales. Okay? I'm getting a little impatient, all right? You know, I've been asked to come on here, and I'm on here, but I'm trying to do something, all right? As best I can, you know? So let's talk a little bit about writing. I am doing some writing. As I said, it's 1950s noir type stuff, set in the big city, New York, right? There's only one, you say, the city, and there's only one in America that fits that description, and it's New York. And this is the 1950s. Right? And I have a character I'm working on. There's going to be a website for this, right? Yeah, and, you know, and these are some of the images that I've got there. If that camera 2 can come in on that. It's not coming in. Yeah. Right, and I'm doing some images for these. I have a character. He's a female detective. Private, of course, because they get the most interesting cases, right? And there you go. That's Times Square in about 1955, 1956. There's going to be a website for this, Midcentury.
Hold it higher.
Right. There you go. Hold this higher, buddy. Right? 1955, approximately Times Square. Before it looked like Kuala Lumpur, right? Okay, there you go. That's right in front of the face, right? That's more important than my face, of which few people have any interest in, right? And here she is, involved in some cases with guns and attractive women and things like this, which of course is the basic material of all noir writing. It's a genre which really died in the early 60s because the noir era ended.
That's your second book.
That's my second, yes. And thank you from the Peanut
How
Gallery.
many pages? How many pages is that?
Too many. It all needs editing. Hemingway was right. All first drafts are crap. This is the first one. Let's move in on this. If we can move the camera in on that. That's camera 2. Or should be. Yeah, can we move that in? Right, there we go. Yeah, there's going to be a website for this, midcenturydetective.com. I've already purchased it. And yes, gang, stuff will be there. That's right. So, I also want to, yeah, thank you. Voice from the Peanut Gallery. But I would like to highlight some other people. You know, the greats in this field came early in the 1930s and 40s. The first, of course, was Dashiell Hammett, author of, excuse me, tone it down, okay? I'm trying to talk.
PCYW shouldn't.
Yeah, it is, but I'm trying to do something here. Okay?
It's original.
Yeah. Dashiell Hammett, the author of The Maltese Falcon. Got to see the film. It's only one of the greatest American movies ever made, and very possibly the greatest noir picture ever made. Bogart did his best. Peter Lorre. And Sidney Greenstreet. I distrust the close-mouthed men.
The Big Sleep is also amazing.
Yes, it is. But that's for me to say, not the voice from the Peanut Gallery.
PCYW, the show that keeps on giving.
Right, except when somebody shoves his mitt into the middle of the camera. Now this is a novel by the great Raymond Chandler, English, well, American-born, Nebraska. There you go. Right, right over my face. Yeah, not in Nebraska, born in Chicago, Illinois, of all places, but raised in England. He was half British and brought a new perspective to American crime writing because of his British background. Wonderfully stylized writing, a real sense of place and time, and the time in which he wrote. These are the writers you should know if you're interested in this stuff. If I can speak over the noise, okay? I mean, I'm supposed to be doing this, right? Okay? But there's somebody I'd also like to clue you in on. You out there in TV land who are watching television when you could be reading something, right? And learning something. You don't learn that much on television because it goes in and out, you know. But sit down and soak something up, and that's what reading is. And this fella, Chester Himes, is one of the greats. He wrote a marvelous series of novels about two extremely brutal but extremely effective black detectives in Harlem in the 1950s. Chester Himes was a black writer, but he was more than that. He was a writer. Very messed up life. He'd been in prison himself. But he knew what crime was really like from the inside, and he was not sentimental about it. And he knew Harlem. And as a black man, he delivers a marvelously evocative and extremely funny portrait of this community. I mean, his stuff is very violent, but it's also hilarious. I won't even try to tell you how funny it is. But take a look at these guys, for God's sake. Don't just sit in front of the television and turn into a legume. You know, seriously. You know, not when there's so much great art out there. I mean, there's the art of performance, there's the art of music, and there's the art of comedy, which we're going to talk about here later. But there's also the art of writing and the art of art, which is, you know, and those take more time. They're less spontaneous, right? But they're worth it. Right? So that's something I'd like to convey to all of you. Now, in terms of my own writing, the writing I'm doing about the 50s. 50s is a wonderful period. 50s have a cornball image in our mind, right? About what else? You know, all sorts of things. Happy days, right? Rock and roll. Oh, yeah. And all this square conformity, right? It's a much more complex period than that, gang. A lot of the stuff that we think of as typical hipster stuff really began in the 50s, if not earlier. The Beats, Kerouac, Ginsberg, those characters, they started in the 40s during the big war, right? Which they were avoiding. Right? But I'd like to move along a bit. Now that I've given you some background, I'd like to bring in some other people, you know. We'll talk about music. I'd like to bring in a friend of mine who knows both the music scene and the comedy scene here in the Boston area. Austin Rutledge, who you should be familiar with from Starro Thrive, Nighthawks. Not the movie with Stallone.
Drive Nighthawk Show.
Okay, calm down.
The Starro Drive Nighthawk Show.
Yeah, but please, not the picture with Stallone and Rutger Hauer, but the great George Hopper painting. And there he is strumming there. And we're going to have a pretty well-known local comedian on here shortly, Heavy D. Doesn't need to rely on sunglasses.
Put it on my tab.
Yeah, well, thank you for the brewskis earlier. I appreciate that.
He had a brewski. Did you have a shot or something too, or no?
No, I did not.
He had a one beer wonder.
I had.
It's okay. My tolerance sucks too.
No, well, it's not that it sucks. Just
No.
that
Did I tell?
We're old. We're old.
Look, it's the comedians outside. But no, just kidding.
Well, I hope we get his.
I did get a good parking spot. That's my car right in that shot.
Well,
Which was
that's nice. And why the
which
hell
pleased
can't I-
me. It pleased me to be able to get here early enough to park right in front.
Well, that's nice. But in any case, I do hope we can get a deal. One of the things that I don't think that's generally appreciated about the 1950s is it was a great period, less for comedy and movies than for on TV and in live venues. On TV, there was Sid Caesar, who was brilliant, and who had a stable of writers, which included Mel Brooks and a variety of other people, including at different times Woody Allen and Neil Simon, who were, when I was growing up, these were the guys, these were the writers. Thank you.
You know what the biggest problem with sex on TV is, Al?
It's that it's irrelevant to what I'm talking about.
Is that there's not enough room on the TV. Let's face it. It's
If you wanted sex on TV, there are channels for that, which is not this channel at this moment.
We can arrange that though, right? We get
No,
some
we
strippers
can't.
coming in here.
No, we can't.
Never know. Next week's show.
No, we can't, because if we did, we'd get.
Wouldn't that be?
You have an investment in this, and you
I
would
do.
be discontinued. I'd
No.
be fine.
Well, not if people were dancing
No. But
moderately clothed.
But what I'd like to continue with.
It might raise the ratings.
No.
Just saying.
The
I mean,
50s were really.
I didn't. Did I say more cleavage? I didn't say more cleavage.
No, but what I'd like.
Did I insinuate more cleavage? Hey, I'm
But
just
I'd
trying
like-
to get the right screen.
Yeah, but I'd like to continue with something that I was saying.
Please.
Yeah, please.
On PCYW, the show
Yeah.
of a lifetime, right here.
Which is that
Live TV.
people like Heavy D, people like the other people that we've had here.
Yes.
What's your friend?
Casey McNeil.
Casey McNeil. All the innovative comedian, all the young comedians out there owe a tremendous debt to the comics of the 50s. Because it's in the 50s that you get in the clubs people like Lenny Bruce, the bizarre Lord Buckley.
Bongo players.
Bongo, yeah.
Coffee drinkers.
But it's more than that. It's people who are doing things that comics had never done before. The young George Carlin started out in the 50s, right? And this is, so it's not a dull period at all. It's when new things were being done. And genuinely new things. What we're doing now, in many ways, is really just a fifth or sixth generation knockoff of what these guys did in the 50s.
You're saying it's a repetition?
Well, not entirely. Of course, there's a lot of talented young people out there who are doing new stuff, but the way for what they do. This was shown many years earlier. And one of the things, Johnny Carson was around then. He knew all this, of course. There's very little Johnny didn't know. And one of the things that Johnny was best at was giving a shot to young comics and letting them have some time.
This young man coming on soon probably has never heard of Johnny Carson, man.
Well, Johnny knew comedy, and so why don't we welcome Heavy D, Mr.
We should.
Demetrius.
We should. Come and take the chair.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. I
Have
appreciate
a
it.
star guest on.
Oh, I'm not a star guest. I'm just a regular guy.
You're not a star yet, you mean?
Not yet. But I'm getting there.
Sure. Well, how long have you been doing this now?
I'm in my third year of comedy now, which is just like baby steps compared to legends and people that's been out there and stuff. But I've been grinding pretty hard. I've been going pretty hard doing the comedy thing, and it's been working out for me. So
Yeah, I heard on the previous program you did gigs for just about a year straight, almost every day.
yeah, I was, because the thing with comedy is like it's a grind, and in order for me to get better, for me to be able to actually get booked and be able to do stuff, I put myself through a position where I just did show after show after show after show, open mic after open mic after open mic every day of the week to sharpen my steel, just get better at comedy.
Right. Have you seen improvement over that time? Are you looking back?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have a clip on YouTube. When I first started, I got a spot at the casino on this show called Pay to Pain. It was on Sirius XM.
Right.
And I won the competition. It was a competition show. I won the competition.
Right.
It was my first year in. And I look at the jokes that I was doing then compared to the ones I do now. And I'm like, it's night and day.
Right. Well, I remember Carlin saying something like that. If you know who he was, it's like
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He looked back and it's like, how did I ever get away with hippy dippy weatherman? It's just so freaking corny. But but talking about Carlin, I mean, looking back, are there people that you've modeled yourself after, you look up to?
The crazy thing is prior to getting into comedy, I watched stand up, but I wasn't really like a diehard fan, so I didn't know too many comedians. The comedians that I was familiar with was like like Bernie Mac and Cedric the Entertainer and those types of guys. And I loved listening to their stuff. But I don't think I model myself after anybody. I kind of just I kind of just do my own thing because I want to separate myself from other people. I want to have my own voice. So but yeah, those type of guys, I love watching their comedy and their stand up.
Oh yeah, Bernie Mac and Cedric.
Oh yeah,
good.
definitely.
Bernie Mac sadly is no longer with us.
Yeah, no longer with us, but his jokes live on. Unfortunately, the crazy thing is he didn't have like specials and stuff like that. So a lot of the stuff that you've seen, you actually had to see live or get to see like old clips of him doing stuff. So
right, he didn't even get many movies.
Yeah, right. But he had some shows and stuff. But he was a good comedian.
Yeah,
I think he was in a movie or two.
He definitely was.
Too, but he was not in a great many. I mean,
Right.
one of the sad things about Hollywood is they often don't know how to use really talented comedians.
Right.
I mean, Pryor got into only a few movies, and most of them weren't very good.
Yeah, most of them. But I will say this: Richard Pryor was in a movie called The Mac, and I watched that movie probably.
Kind of an action movie.
Oh, yeah, it's an action movie, but he was dynamite in that movie. Richard
Right.
Pryor was crazy. I loved him.
Oh, he was
It's a
insane.
train movie too. He was on a train.
Yeah, he was he had a lot of
Silver
movies.
Streak,
With,
with Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder.
Silver Streak's a good movie.
Well, definitely.
Well, it isn't really, but it gives them it lets them both at times be funny, which is, if you're a comic, that's what you care about.
Right.
So, I mean, but I haven't heard you yet. I mean, what kind of stuff strikes you as funny? What kind of material do you generally work?
Usually I talk about things based off of my life. A lot of my material now is relationship based.
Right.
Things I've gone through in relationships, past relationships, current relationships. Self-deprecation, maybe. You know what I'm saying? I talk about myself. Talk about my own shortcomings and stuff. And that's it. And I have fun with
the
it.
people the women in your relationships will talk about those even if you don't.
Oh yeah, of course they will. Of course they will. It might not always be good things,
Right.
but it'll be some of it will be the best things.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right. That's right. That's right. So have you
He's
got?
got some shows too.
That's right. You got some gigs coming.
Oh, I got some gigs coming. I do Cambridge Comedy Underground here at CCTV.
There you go.
That's gonna be airing on February 18th. Also, I have a podcast called In the Gutter Podcast.
In the Gutter.
In the Gutter
Jeez,
Podcast.
whoa.
Yeah, it's,
I won't even ask what that's like.
well, it's me and two other comedians. They're from East Boston.
Oh, boy.
I'm from Roxbury, and basically we just talk about a bunch of just random things. It's www.inthegutterpodcast.com.
I gotta look that up.
And I run a open mic at the Granary at 170 Milk Street on Mondays at 10 o'clock. It's an open mic, so anybody can come down and sign up and do stand-up comedy. And
Wow.
I do a weekly show at the Asgard, which is right down the street
Right
from
down
here,
the street. Yeah.
every Wednesday. So if you ever want to see a show, just come out on a Wednesday.
I may well do that. Yeah. So, gee whiz. Yeah.
Tuesdays at the Asgard.
Tuesdays.
Wednesdays at the Asgard.
Wednesdays. at the
Tuesdays
Asgard.
7:30.
Tuesdays at 7:30 Tavern with Anderson Comedy.
Wednesdays Asgard.
Yep.
That's
Oh,
right.
there's a call coming in. Do you guys want to take it?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't even have the phone number up.
Well, have you just look right in front of you. There's like there's a little box in front of you.
Phone on?
Demetrius.
Phone on.
Right in front of you, there's a little thing that says you can answer the phone call.
Oh, pick up.
Where is it? Pick
Right.
up.
It's live.
Yeah. Hi. We're here at.
Hey guys, what's up? I was just letting you know, do you think it'd be a good idea to turn on the phone number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Joe. All right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we turned it on. Does
He's
that
no
keep you
horny
happy?
housewife.
He let it know. He let it be known. Turn on the phone
He's no
number.
horny housewife.
Okay. All right. Well, we got to wrap this up here
We
in a
do. At
minute.
7:57, we conclude the episode.
That's right. And I will just, we have time to say this.
PCYW.
I will quote the great Marlene Dietrich, who is famous for her legs, and somebody admiring them once said that he admired them, and Marlene said, "It's not that the legs are so good, the legs are so great, honey. It's just that I know what to do with them."
I know what to do with
That's
those legs. Yes.
And if you ever saw Marlene's legs, you would want to see those.
Or Wheezy Jefferson.
Louise and Jefferson, good Lord, that takes me right back to my, well, I won't even say my childhood, I will say my teenage years.
Looking good, in
Good
a skirt.
Lord.
Looking good in a skirt.
Moving on up
Yeah, moving on.
to the east side.
Janet
In a
Jackson.
deluxe
Janet
apartment
Jackson.
in the sky.
That's right.
Did you guys know Janet Jackson made her debut on that show?
Yeah, I do.
I could care less. Janet Jackson.
Hey, you gotta have your
Square
start somewhere.
root of nothing.
Hey, Janet, we salute you, Janet.
No, we
Thanks for
don't.
being on that show.
We could
I
Care less.
can check it out.
All right, there was one, well, there were a couple people counting that
PCYW
fast.
counting off in 3,